Hey, friends. Welcome, welcome. All right. So I want to talk today about a thing I've been seeing online. There's a lot, you tend to see trends that in parenting online, especially and in social media in particular. This thing I've been seeing is something to the effect of, imagine being 6 years old and you're in your little league game and you look up and your mom is on her phone. Imagine she's not there for you. Yeah, that's bullshit. Okay. So I did an Instagram reel in response to that. And I was like, no. Like, we don't want our kids looking to us for every little thing to validate them, because their accomplishments are not our accomplishments. Their accomplishments are theirs. And if they are continually looking at us, they're losing self-esteem. They're losing confidence. And I say this as a former coach of baseball. So I coached baseball. I know, most unlikely coach on the planet, but I did it because my son's team needed a coach. And I can tell you that at practice, kids are 100% better without parents. And at some games, it's okay if you're not there. It's okay if you have to be on your phone for a minute, or maybe go around the corner and, at the park or whatever, and use your phone. I do think we have a societal problem with distracted parents with phones. I think that is an absolute truth. And I think it happens daily. It happens in our own homes, and it is affecting our parenting. As you're scrolling and your child's trying to get your attention. However, this idea that we need to be present and looking at them for every single thing they do is insane. Now, it's always the mom, never the dad. If the dad's on the phone, well, he's probably on there for business. It's always the mom. And one thing I'm starting to realize, and it's starting to blow up my ass sideways, is how much we are told we're fucking up parenting, how much is laid at the mother's feet and not at the father's. And it's really undermining our intuition. And it's really irritating. And sorry, I digress, because that's not what this podcast is about, but it might be. So we can't keep our eye on our children all the time. And like I talked about with Lenore Skenazy and this trying to give your kids more freedom, is if we have the illusion that we have to keep our eyes on our children at all times, that is exhausting. And that is 90% of the burnout that's happening right now in parents. We simply were never meant to keep our eyes on our children at all times. And don't give me, we used to have a village. We haven't had a village for like a long time. Eyes have never been on kids 100%. Okay. That's how kids took risks. That's how kids got into trouble and got themselves out of trouble. That is how it works. Eyes on a kid all the time is being observed. How would you like it if eyes were on you at all times, right? And this idea that we're supposed to validate every feeling, validate every emotion, but more importantly, now we got to validate everything they do in a practice or a game of an organized activity is asinine. Now, obviously, there's nuance here. Obviously, the younger your child is, they just might need you not to cheer them on, just like that you're there. Like, they might be nervous to be away from you out on a field in front of a lot of people, or out on a gymnastics mat in front of a lot of people. They may be nervous. And I understand that. The younger they are, of course, they're going to look towards you, right? And I do think there's a difference between practice and games. And I just saw many, many clips circulating of 2 Olympic athletes who are like, drop your kid off at practice. Drop your kid off at practice. Do not stay. And I can vouch for that as a coach. So one of the things that happens is you're not just observing your kid. You're watching for every minor slight. You're watching for how the coach talked to your kid. You're watching for little Johnny who pushed your kid, or bumped into him by accident. You're watching and watching, and you can't wait to find something wrong, right? When you drop your kid off, they deal with things the way we're meant to deal with things. And I am so convinced that everything gone wrong in the world right now is because we have a comfort crisis. We are snowplowing the hell out of life for our kids. We are making it so they never have to deal with anything uncomfortable, and it's showing up in mental illness, and it's awful. And it's more taxing on us because jeepers creepers, y'all don't get a chance to breathe. Drop your kid off at practice and let them go. Let them deal with the coach. Let them deal with Johnny. Let them come home and say, Johnny pushed me. And you're like, oh, okay. You okay? It doesn't mean that Johnny's bullying. It doesn't matter. Okay. Sometimes these little what do you want to call injustices? They exist. They exist in the world. And your child thinking that you're going to be the buffer the whole time, that is actually what's really scary. We're seeing it in a fragile, non-resilient, anxiety-ridden, depression-ridden kids. We got to get away from it. Now, again, it's the playoffs. Yes, show up for your kid. Be in the bleachers. Be the loudest one screaming for your kid. Scream for all the kids. Tell every kid up there they're doing a good job. Absolutely. Do you have to be eyes on all times? No, you're going to look away. I started working the snack shack before I was a coach because my kid would be like, oh, you missed this. I was like, yeah, I missed it. I was looking at a bird that flew by. Like, dude, I wasn't even on my phone. I might have been looking at another kid who was cracking me up. I might have been talking to a parent. Like, and I told Pascal, I was like, listen, I get my time too. My time's on with the moms on the bleachers. That's my village right now. You play your game. Your game is for you, not for me, and not for me to dissect afterwards either. You know what I mean? I'd had parents of 7-year-olds like, okay, remember that play? Do you remember that? Like, we're going insane with this. And there's so many flavors of this. There's like the over-parenting, the over-coach who doesn't want to coach. But more importantly, when I'm a coach and I got my kids on the field, I want them listening to me. When they make a hit, yes, after they've landed on base and they're standing there and they look to you, they want a thumbs up. Absolutely. Okay. I get that. But when they hit a ball and they look to their parents before they even run, then I know the parents watching them is a disservice. Okay. Now, I wanted to address on Instagram, I post something about this, and a mom asked a really good question. And so I want to go over this. She said, I love this concept. My daughter is 4. Do you have any tips or advice on what to say, show, do, so she can start feeling pride in her accomplishments from a young age? And I thought that was a great question. So first and foremost, this begins very young. I would say eliminate the words good job from your vocabulary. Okay. Find something interesting to say about your child's accomplishment, not good job. That becomes rote and that becomes a tail-eating snake of your child actually wanting more feedback. So if you are saying a distracted, good job, oh, good job, good job, good job, they are going to keep coming to you for more because they actually want more. Okay. The next thing, always praise the effort, not the outcome. Okay. If you're going to praise, you want to praise the effort and not the outcome. So, mommy, look at my drawing. My goodness, you were working on that for a really long time. Do you want to tell me about it? Then they tell you about it. Okay. I didn't say good job. I didn't say, oh my God, you're so talented. Oh, wow. Look at we don't have to be effusive like that. Like, honestly, like, praise that they were working on it a long time. If they ask you what you think, you can be honest. You can say, hey, this is impressive, but like, I noticed your person has hands, but the hands don't, what's missing on the hands? And they'll be like, oh, there's no fingers. Like, you could maybe get them to add more detail or to notice things themselves. Okay. So what we want to stay away from in all of these things for a kid to feel pride in their own accomplishments is stay away from praising the person, right? Kids, we know this. Kids who are praised for being smart end up being worse off for it because they now think they have to keep up with that. Those kids end up cheating, right? They don't work really hard for an outcome because they think they're smart, right? Kids who we praise the effort, those kids will work hard for a solution because they know they've built in, our voice has become their internal voice and they know that effort matters. And please remember in all of this that we can't expect a child to be good at everything. This is wild to me. School is wild that we expect kids to get A's in everything. Like, who's good at everything? It's okay if your kid sucks. It's okay if your kid sucks at drawing. It's okay if they're off tune singing. Like, we don't have to bolster fake ego into them, saying things that aren't true. Okay. The next thing is when a child comes to you beaming with something, and I say this about potty training all the time. Instead of saying, I'm so proud of you, what you could say is, you should be proud of yourself. Are you proud of yourself? And then we can go into praising effort, right? Oh my God, Mom, I was at school on the playground and I finally learned how to kick the ball and I kicked it all the way past and I ran to second base and oh my God. And then you say, oh my goodness, you must be so proud of yourself. I know you've been working on that for a while. Tell me about it. right? And let them tell you about it. Let them tell you the moment. Let them tell you oh my God, I was so nervous and I didn't, I blacked everything out and I could just see the ball coming towards me. Let them have excitement about running through the process for you. So always, always, always don't, we tend to railroad kids in these moments. Oh my God, that's great. That's so awesome. I bet everybody was so jealous. Or, when I was a kid, I was so nervous. The amount of times we attempt to connect with our kids by telling them our experience, they do not care, you guys. They do not give a rat's ass. They do not give a flying fuck about your experience. They will not until they're parents themselves. I'm telling you right now, it doesn't work for toddlers. It doesn't work for teens. They do not care that you had a similar experience. All your effort in life, all your experience is wasted. It's wasted. It doesn't, I know we think like, oh my goodness, I've been around this block. I know I can tell them. They do not care. So, maybe the rare kid cares, but I think most kids don't care. So don't take that moment away from them. Let them, the best thing you can always do in any accomplishment, tell me about it. Okay, so tell me, oh my God, that test that, I got 100 on the test. I can't believe it. That mom, I'm so excited. Look. Oh, you have got to be so proud of yourself. You studied so hard. Tell me about it. Were you nervous? No, I had let them live in it. The more they can describe the experience to you, the more they can relive it, the more they can parse out like, what was nervous? What did I overcome? I remember Pascal was really good at baseball. He was just really, really good at baseball. And the kid he was a nervous learner, but he was so good under pressure. And he, I forget the circumstances, but it was a movie moment. The bases were loaded. Little League only goes to 6 innings. The bases were loaded. It was the bottom of the 6th inning. There were two strikes already. It was like the movie moment, right? And he gets up to bat and I'm like, oh my God, I can't even imagine the pressure. This is why I don't do team sports. Oh my God, I would die. I would puke right there at home plate. And he waited it out. He waited for four balls. And that was incredible for I think he was 9 at the time or something. Because to wait and know where the ball was coming in. And so he was, he was ecstatic and won the game, won the championship. It was awesome. And he was a little bit it was a walk. I'm bummed I didn't get to hit it. But the control in waiting for a walk was so key. And then later I said, oh my God, tell me about it. I would have, thrown up at that point. And he said, no, Mom, it was weird. He said, I am terrible under pressure, Mom. I don't ever want to be in that position again. And I was like, excuse me, you were terrible under pressure? What? That was the most pressurized moment I have ever seen. That is out of a movie. What do you mean you did great? The fact that you didn't try to hit the ball, you really were calculated. You knew the pitcher was throwing walks. And he was like, oh, Mom, everything grayed out. Everybody became blurry and it was just me and the pitcher. And I couldn't hear the stands. I couldn't hear anybody. And I was like, dude, you were in flow. That's not being bad in pressure. That is the opposite of being bad in pressure. And so he talked about it for months and we kept exploring that, everything kind of fading. And what ended up happening is he realized he was good. Through talking it out, he was able to own the fact that he took a highly pressurized moment and he was good in it. And that has served him well. He knows he's good under pressure. And that's a skill set he has. That has outlived that winning of the game. The winning of the game is so freaking temporary. But the lesson he took out of that I am good under pressure. And the more we expanded that conversation about what he was feeling, what his heart was doing, what his stomach was doing, it's been incredible. He's an amazing marksman, an amazing bow hunter. He is, he's so good right away. Even his driving test, he's so good under pressure. And it's a story he's built himself. That is not a story I fed him. That is not fake self-esteem I gave him. That is not blowing smoke up his ass to make him feel good in the moment. That is not just celebrating the winning of the game, the outcome. What it is allowing him to own the experience, giving him the space and the conversation to work through, like, what did I do here? And same thing for any accomplishment. So, and this goes for even when your kids are doing nonsense. Like, for example, they all go through this thing where, like, look at me, look at me, look at me. And a lot of times they're doing bullshit, right? They're like hopping on one foot, which they can do. And I think in those moments, it's more than okay. It's good to say, that's not something. You know how to do that. I'm not watching that. Like, show me something impressive. This doesn't have to be mean. It could be a joke. It could be like, go find something really interesting to do with your body and then show me. Try something new. Don't show me something I know you know how to do. So we get them out of that type of asking for praise. But I think too, we get so focused on outcome. And then we teach them that the outcome matters. And then it's not their accomplishment. If they are constantly saying, looking for us for the validation, it's not theirs. They're waiting for the praise. Yeah. Be really cautious to not say the words, you made me. You made me mad. You made me sad. And a good gauge is if your child is constantly asking you, Mommy, you sad? Mommy, you happy? Mommy, this happens in potty training. Mommy, I pooped. You happy? We don't want our children to be responsible for our emotions in any way, shape, or form. So curb your language around that. And then if they start saying that to you, say, honey, you don't have to worry about my feelings. My feelings are my feelings. No. You do your thing. You poop. You poop because it makes your belly feel good. You poop because you need to poop. Not mommy's not happy or sad. Pooping doesn't affect me. And even if it does. Okay. So we want to make sure that that's going on too. We do not want to over explain our emotions to our kids. It's not, it can feel like a bonding moment. It can feel like we're showing them something, and that will come. You will share more and more with your child about your stuff, what you're going through. And I think it's always good to model how we're dealing with our emotions, but we don't want to burden our kids with that. Okay. All right. That's all I got for that subject. As always, rock on. Have a beautiful day and put your phone down.